May I commence the proceedings, my lord? Tamil Thai வாழ்த்து.
நீராறும் கடலுடுத்த நிலமடந்தை கெழிலொழுகும் சீராரும் வதனமென திகழ்பரத கண்டமிதில் தெக்கணமும் அதில் சிறந்த திராவிடன திருநாடும் தக்க சிறு பிறை நுதலும் தரித்தனரும் திலகமுமே அத்திலக வாசனை போல் அனைத்துலகும் இன்பமுற எத்திசையும் புகழ் மணக்க இருந்த பெரும் தமிழனங்கே தமிழனங்கே உன் சீரிழமை திறம் வியந்து செயல் மறந்து வாழ்த்துதுமே வாழ்த்துதுமே வாழ்த்துதுமே.
May I request the Learned Advocate General to give farewell address to the Honorable Thiru Justice and Seshasayee.
My Lord, the Honorable Chief Justice and other Honorable Judges of the Madras High Court, family members and friends of the Honorable Justice N. Seshasayee, Additional Solicitor General Thiru A.R. Sundaresan, Learned Additional Advocate Generals Thiruvalargal Haja Nasuruddin, Veera Kadiravan, Raman Lal, Bhaskaran, Kumaresan, Neelakantan, Ravindran, Muthukumar, Chandramohan, Suresh Kumar, Learned State Public Prosecutor Thiru Hasan Mohammad Jinnah, Learned State Government Pleader Thiru A. Edwin Prabhakar, Learned Government Pleader Madurai Thiru P. Tilak Kumar, Learned Government Law Officers of Tamil Nadu at the Principal Bench and Madurai Bench of the Madras High Court, Learned Public Prosecutor of Puducherry Thiru Mohan Das, Learned Government Pleader of Puducherry Thiru Ravi Kumar, Learned Government Law Officers of Puducherry and Law Officers of the Union of India, Thiru P.S. Amalraj, Chairman of the Bar Council of Tamil Nadu and Puducherry, Thiru S. Prabhakaran, Vice Chairman of the Bar Council of India, Thiru M. Bhaskar, President of the Madras Bar Association, Thiru Mohan Krishnan, President of the Madras High Court Advocates Association, Thiru Isaac Mohanlal, President of the Madurai Bench of the Madras High Court Bar Association, Thiru M.K. Suresh, President, Madurai Bar Association of Madurai Bench of Madras High Court, Thiru V. Ramakrishnan, President of the Madras High Court Madurai Bench Advocates Association, Ms. Ananthavalli, President of Women Association Advocates Association Madurai, Thirupathi N.S. Revathi, President of the Women Lawyers Association, Thiru P. Selvaraj, President of the Law Association and other office bearers of the respective associations, Thirumathi S. Ali, Registrar General, officers and staff of the Registry of Madras High Court at the principal seat and its bench at Madurai, fellow senior advocates and beloved advocates, representatives of the electronic and print media, viewers watching the proceedings online, ladies and gentlemen. It is very common, particularly in this part of the country, for elderly persons to take notice of blooming talents, and when such talent matures into success later in life, to comment, I quote in Tamil, "நீ பெரிய ஆளா வருவேன்னு எனக்கு எப்பவுமே தெரியும்," meaning I always know you will make it big sometime. This is not a statement which is made patronizingly but only out of affection. It is not a statement that the Advocate General can make, particularly when my own age is just a few years past the age of superannuation of judges of the Madras High Court. Possibly a statement like that could be made in a welcome address. However, in the peculiarities of the present farewell, I may boldly say that I always knew Justice Seshasayee would make a fine judge one day. This is out of a personal experience and not out of a reputation. I take your lordships back in time when you were the district judge at Coimbatore in 2011. There was an international commercial arbitration where the Indian counterpart had moved an anti-arbitration suit in the Coimbatore District Court and obtained an injunction against the arbitration proceedings in the United Kingdom. I had twice appeared in Coimbatore and argued, but without success, as orders were not being passed. Just as frustration was creeping in for the foreign company, I got a call from the local lawyer asking if I could come to Coimbatore immediately and do the case, as he felt that the new incumbent could definitely hear and conclude the proceedings. I entered the Coimbatore district courtroom to find a genial, smiling judicial officer full of humor and kindness to the bar. I remembered him and interacting him as a registrar judicial of the Madurai bench of the Madras High Court a few years earlier. The hearing was done in good time and an excellent judgment was pronounced on whether the arbitration clause could be invoked even in a case when the agreement was allegedly incapable of performance. Your Lordship held that it survived. This order was sustained up to the Supreme Court. That day, I knew I was in the presence of a judicial officer who was bound for greater success. And providentially, today, it is my pleasure and privilege to give your Lordships a fond farewell or a retirement as a judge of this High Court. When I gave the farewell address to Justice Krishna Kumar and a welcome address to the Honorable Chief Justice a couple of months back, I had occasion to mention about the native place of both the learned judges, namely Dharmapuram and Kalpati respectively, as beautiful surroundings. It is very important to have such childhood memories. Justice Seshasayee too competes with both the learned judges in having a birthplace of much splendor, namely Mankombu, a picturesque landscape in the heart of the backwaters of Aleppi in God's own country, Kerala. I say this with much envy because as a third generation Chennai Vasi, my nativity extends only to Rayapeta. From the backwaters of Aleppi, now called Alappuzha, your Lordship moved back to your family residence in Nagarkoil, Kanyakumari district, where your late father V. Narayana Iyer had earlier practiced. Your Lordship's father was himself a respected judicial officer who died while in harness as a district and session judge of Salem only a few weeks before his retirement in April 1994. I was told reliably by some of your Lordship's family members and close associates that even as a school student, your Lordship was studious and a merit scholar with a particular flair for the written language, especially English. It was no wonder that both in your schooling in SLB Government High School and later at the Scott Christian College in Nagarkoil, your Lordship was a debating champion with an eagerness to keep improving your vocabulary as well as learning new phrases and idioms every day. With a family background in law and a flair for language, it was no surprise that your Lordship joined the Madras Law College and after graduation enrolled as an advocate on 10th September 1986. Your Lordship joined the office of the late N. Chidambara Krishnan, a doyen of more than 50 years practice in that region. It is under his tutelage that you acquired a strong sense of justice, equity and fair play while honing your professional skills in drafting and pleading. An important and path-making change for your Lordship was a 4-year stint in Kochi, where you came under the direct influence of the quintessential jurist, the irreplaceable late Justice V.R. Krishna Iyer. Your Lordship has often mentioned in public platforms on how your keenness to do justice and also understanding the nuances and importance of judicial review within the framework of a constitution stems from this learning curve under the umbrella of the great jurist. After having suffered a traumatic personal tragedy, your Lordship shifted your practice to the Kerala High Court under your father-in-law, late Thiru S. Parameswaran, a leading lawyer in Ernakulam. Your Lordship returned back to Nagarkoil to take over the legacy of your senior, late Thiru Chidambara Krishnan. More importantly, I understand that your Lordship also inherited his vast library containing several books of great vintage, some of them centuries old, something you undoubtedly love and cherish. Your Lordship joined the State Judicial Service as a directly recruited district judge on 6th June 2004 with a first posting as Additional District Judge Tirunelveli. After having served in various capacities, including the Registrar Judicial of the Madurai bench of the Madras High Court between 2009 and 11, a period during which, as I had mentioned earlier, I got associated with you in my earlier avatar as the Advocate General. It was thereafter that your Lordship took over as District Judge Coimbatore when the mentioned hearing occurred. Your Lordship was elevated as Additional Judge of the High Court on 16th November 2016 and made a permanent judge on 2nd November 2018. The members of the bar knew precisely what to expect of your lordship as you made your position clear in the reply to the welcome address given by my predecessor, late Thiru Muthukumar Sami. I quote from your lordship's reply. I may not be a slot machine to produce instant judgments all the time. However, I state that nothing is dearer to me than the commitment to fulfill the trust that the society reposes in our legal system, and in that endeavor, I promise I will not relax until my conscience is satisfied that I have given my best. The members of the bar soon learnt that your lordship's court is not to be taken lightly. Attendance, prompt attendance, and preparation became a given. I say this because your lordship had expressed an open displeasure on repeated adjournments being taken by members of the bar. In a judgment in the case of Fatima vs. Rahmatullah, your lordship had the following to comment. May the bar and the litigants be now told firmly, but not impolitely, that the appointment given, which the court gives them, is as precious as an appointment a physician gives his patient, for the courts are doctors of bleeding rights. I not only commend your lordship's sentiment, but also the felicity of your language. Had this been a rendition of a raga, I would have said wah. Unfortunately, due to paucity of time, both the previous farewells which I gave were bereft of any reference to major judgments delivered by their lordships. In the present case, there is an overcompensation because I have been shared, nay, flooded by a plethora of your judicial pronouncements, thanks to the reservoir of goodwill you are commanding with your brothers and sisters, both in the bench and in the bar. I have consciously handpicked a few. In the case of the managing trustee Nagur Dargah, which was a matter relating to determination of successors to the office of trusteeship, Mutawali, of the Waqf Nagur Dargah, the judgment engages in a lively discussion on the authority of Waqf Tribunal and a scheme court to render such determination, and proceeds to affirm the jurisdiction of civil court to decide matters in the said genre. Your lordship also decided on the jurisdiction of the Waqf board over public Waqf with a contingent private feature. In the case of Sherian versus Commissioner of Police Trichy, you dealt with the right of free speech when permission for holding a procession and a meeting was requested from the police. The judgment demonstrated a reverse phenomenon, namely that the freedom of speech need not only be limited by a state action under 19.2, but the citizens themselves have a duty not to embark on those covered under 19.2. In yet another judgment delivered more recently in the executive officer Dandayanapathi Swami Devasthanam, your lordship, while deciding the dispute regarding the title to a certain property at the foothills of Padani Hills, the judgment expounded the doctrine of res nullius in detail and drew inspiration from the ancient Roman law doctrine of pedis possession regarding title to immovable properties while interpreting section 110 of the Evidence Act. In the national suing threats case, which is a case where your lordships made an attempt to create a level playing field for the operational creditors by defining duties of all stakeholders by partly engaging in the interpretative techniques, by applying the ratio of judgments of the Supreme Court, but also by trying to find an interspace between a few major judgments of the courts on insolvency and bankruptcy code, a jurisprudence that is still nascent and constantly changing. In Vasumati versus Vasudevan, while dealing with female co-partners' rights to inherit ancestral property, your lordship discussed the nature of ancestral property and Hindu Succession Act's implication on co-partnery properties. Your judgment analyzed the effect of notional partition on co-partnery and held it would not destroy the entire co-partnery. The judgment also discussed and demonstrated how the property devolved under Section 8 into the hands of a second generation male Hindu and can only be ancestral property. For the first time, Section 19 of the Act was telescoped into Section 8, and a combined reading of both these provisions explored with reference to the rule of per capita and per sterpiece which govern partition under Hindu law. Lastly, in Patan Afsar Hussain versus Bureau of Immigration, your lordship dealt with the right to travel abroad of an accused person slapped with a lookout circular by an investigating agency. Your Lordship held that right to travel is an inherent aspect of life and liberty under Article 21, and that right to life also meant the right to grow and prosper. This judgment provided the first ever self-operating mechanism to ease the burden of courts while dealing with matters pertaining to lookout circulars. These examples reflect Your Lordship's keen interest in protecting fundamental rights as well as property rights under Articles 14, 19, 21 and 300A enshrined in our Constitution. Another aspect of Your Lordship's judgments would be that you would demonstrate a strong sense of dharma. Put in the negative, where it involves an interpersonal dispute over properties, contracts or other rights not involving constitutional rights, the law would be interpreted in such a way that adharma does not succeed. It is customary in these farewell addresses to include a segment containing statistics of the disposal of cases made by the retiring judge. But in keeping with Your Lordship's request not to dwell on this aspect, I refrain from doing so, though when this address goes to the reports, it will still show the remarkable statistics. I am only reminded of my late senior Thiru V.P. Raman's address to one of Your Lordship's predecessors when he said, "Volume should not dilute validation." Finally, I have to include one other part of Your Lordship's life, which I too share in common, an almost fanatical obsession with cricket, a game which George Bernard Shaw described as one that is played by 11 fools and watched by 11,000 fools. We would beg to differ. For you, this sport epitomizes strong character building exercises such as sportsmanship, fair play and team spirit. This is the reason why this morning Your Lordship delivered your last judgment as a sitting judge of the Madras High Court in the case of Chair and Enterprises versus Union of India, wherein you have drawn a parallel to the court of law and the cricket field. After 8 years as a judge, Your Lordship always would never use the first person I in any of your orders, but only refer to it as this court. On the eve of your departure from this precinct, for the first and last time, you reverted to first person by treating your position of a judge as akin to an umpire in a cricket match. What better way to end this address than by quoting the opening paragraphs and the last 2 paragraphs of Your Lordship's judgment given this morning. And I quote, "And here I am, stepping in to officiate the final moments of the game in this ground. How many times have I been here? How many matches would I have umpired? A thought passed by, cautioning my mind not to wander. I settled down to umpire another game. Will the petitioner hit its way to the team's victory, or is the team respondent going to steal the show? I am not interested in the outcome, for I am neither a player nor a spectator." On an emotional note, Your Lordship spoke of your last umpiring effort and concluded the judgment with the following words, and I quote again, "The match is over. The victorious fielding team has retired to the pavilion. I see the batsman still at the crease. It may require some time for the team petitioner to realize that it has lost a match that it was desperate to win. Indeed, it had its moments when it could have settled for a very peaceful draw, which the order of the CLB had offered, but prolonged the game over-ambitiously. Apparently, KCP and his team failed to realize that cricket is synonymous with fairness and it knows how to assert itself. In retrospect, I thought it was not petitioner's bad strategy that let it down, but its unfairness in developing the very strategy. Unfairness may tempt, unfairness may even pay at times, but unfairness certainly fails. And it must fail. Fairness in thought and equity in conduct form the soul of Dharma, and it must permeate into the deeper layers of conscience in guiding every action and every conduct. Yeto dharmas tato dayaha, for dharma rakshati rakshita. I thanked all the players and the groundsmen for making my journey through the game engaging and comfortable. There will be yet another match here the next day, and another match and yet another. I see the groundsmen already getting ready in action. They go through their motions. I see the sun slowly setting down on the ground, spreading the shadow. Time reminds me that my moment to leave the ground has arrived, I begin to walk, a long, lonely walk to the world beyond the cheers of the crowd this ground has witnessed many times and will be witnessing in times to come. As I step out on the ground, I see the horizon decked in golden streaks, interspersed with many silver lines, waiting to welcome me. I turn towards the ground, give it a smile, and salute it with gratitude after officiating my last match. As I walk to melt in the wilderness of this world, I hear a feeble echo of the Shakespearean lines within me. If we do meet again, why? We shall smile. If not, this parting was well made. Other than cricket, I believe there are two more interests which you have, namely singing and pencil sketching. Instead of wishing you lots of time to indulge in either skill, I would instead end by welcoming you in your own cricketing terms to start your second innings in a different wicket, but with the difference that instead of being behind the stumps as an umpire, you would be before the stumps as another player. But please do not stop singing or sketching, as such talents are God-given and should not be left unused. On behalf of the entire bar and a grateful bar of the Madras High Court, I wish your lordships all health and happiness and every success in whatever your lordship chooses to do in the coming years. Thank you. Jai Hind.
Thank you, sir. May I request Honorable Thiru Justice N. Seshasayee to offer acceptance speech.
My Lord, the Honorable Chief Justice, my brother and sister judges, both serving, and those with whom I had the good fortune to serve alongside, the learned Advocate General, Additional Advocate General, State Public Prosecutor and their team of office bearers, the learned Additional Solicitor General and his team of law officers of the central government, the presidents and members of the various bar association, the Registrar General and her team of registrars, all the members of the district judiciary, the staff of the registry of the High Court and the district judiciary, members of the bar, both the seniors whose erudition and experience I have always respected and which I believe has guided me in my journey, and the younger generation of lawyers whose enthusiasm and energy has driven me, my RLAs and all my personal staff, and my dearest wife and my son Shankar Narayanan, who are my strongest pillars of emotional support, all my brothers and sisters and all my relatives in whose warmth and care I grew up, and finally my friends who have arrived here to remind me that I will not be alone as I part company with this institution. Good evening. The learned Advocate General made my parting moments touching with his appreciation for whatever I was fortunate enough to do here. But at the moment, I am reminded of the oxymoron, parting is such sweet sorrow. For one who never wanted to be anywhere near law, where I stand now at the moment gives me a sense of satisfaction that the purpose of my life has not been disappointing. And it also reminds me that whatever one has not planned can also work. Howsoever good an innings may be, for the batsman of the crease, the next ball is important, the next innings is important. The hamper of appreciation, which the learned Advocate General has graciously presented me with, though gives me a sense of satisfaction, nay, even a dose of confidence, yet it also reminds me that I shall not lose my soul to complacency. There is a purpose to every life, and there is a purpose to my life too. I am in search of that purpose. The path I do not know. The destination I am not aware. But when what I did not plan worked, why should I contemplate planning? But I must not rest. I had to give back to the society what it has given me. It would be a rank conceit if I state that I am solely a product of my effort. The society has invested more in me than my worth. Hence, I cannot be complacent. After all, a batsman is only as good as his last innings, and I know I have not played my last innings just as yet. There is a long list of those to whom I am indebted in gratitude. Handling me as a boy had been the toughest. I was extremely mischievous. My mother, now a nonagenarian, and an amazingly strong woman, and an amalgam of patience and tolerance, gave me the love only a mother can. It is her patience and belief in me that shaped my destiny. I thank all my brothers and sisters. Your care has been invaluable in my growth, and I have not adequately reciprocated it. My wife and son, with whom I did not spend time with, without the comfort of your support, I could not have completed my innings. And here is one to whom I owe my birth to whom I owe my gratitude more than others. My father, late Narayanaya. When I was reluctant to join law, he talked me into it. In my last meeting with him in March 1984, when I was still in the first year, he told me, if ever by divine grace you join the judiciary, remember to leave the beacon light on your car and do not wear it on your head. I think I stood by that advice. Of course, yes, today even the official cars of the judges do not have the beacon lights. Vanity is a human frailty, and perhaps beacon lights symbolized it. The second advice my father gave me was not to count on the appreciation one receives while holding a post. He told me that if after your superannuation you walk on the road and if someone who knows you spots you and crosses the road, then remember you have not lived your life. If on the contrary, if someone on the other side of the road spots you, crosses the road and share pleasantries, understand you have lived your life. Dad, I tried my best not to fail you, but tomorrow may tell me how well I have followed your advice. I always consider that my strength has been my analysis. Here I need to thank one of my closest friends turned my brother-in-law Sitaraman. In my younger days, when I was roaming, playing cricket and quarreling with my siblings, he used to spend his time in the libraries. He introduced me to Plato and Aristotle. There used to be any number of debates which we had on abstract concepts. The next master of my analytical thinking was my senior, late Chidambara Krishnan, an advocate par excellence who, according to Justice V.R. Krishnaiah, was a doyen of South Travancore Bar. Besides goading me to read books on philosophy, he taught me two significant essentials. First, not to feel helplessness in finding a solution, and secondly, the art of linear thinking. I slowly began building a fair acquaintance with books on philosophy, poetry, and bit of psychology. At this moment, you may think I am meandering, but it is to underscore the point made by Confucius that learning without thought is labor lost, thought without learning is perilous. I have already thanked Sri S. Parameswaran, my father-in-law cum senior at Ernakulam, and Justice V.R. Krishnaiah in my reply speech on my elevation, and I remember them both with immense gratitude. I must say that my early writings had a strong influence of Krishnaian style, but only till I came across the judgments of Justice B. Ramasubramaniam. His ability to communicate with his readers through his judgments has been a brilliant essay on his success as a judge. I then slowly came out of Krishna's cocoon and migrated to VRS Villa. There are a few judges to whom I especially owe a lot of gratitude. Justice M. Sundaresh for giving me the moral support. Justice R. Mahadevan, who thought I am good enough to be in IPR and writ jurisdiction, but for which I would have perished in the original side and in civil side. My special thanks goes to Justice M. Satyanarayanan, with whom I have shared bench for 6 terms. The space he had given me in the bench, I cherish the most. And when I was in emotional crisis sometime in 2010, he was the one who supported me the most, along with Justice Chitra Venkatraman. To all the field workers of Indian judiciary, the judges of the district judiciary, in a suffocating world of entitlement, I have always felt and will feel a sense of belongingness to you. But remember, you are the first point of contact for the citizens. It is you who will always get the first opportunity to do a job. Consider it as an insult to let the appellate court to fill up the blanks and resolve the unresolved puzzles which you have the opportunity and ability to resolve. Also remember, it is a quality of your work which will eventually determine the quantum of burden the appellate courts may have to carry. Don't be naive. You need to be absolutely confident and fearless. Remember, you only serve your conscience and your citizen. Believe you are not inferior to any, no matter what the perception may be. Allow your judgments to speak for you. Let your judgments defend you. On the way, you will find your pet detractors treat their comments and views on you as sledging by closing fielders at silly point and forward short leg. Your job is to play the next ball and the ball thereafter and not to be caught at silly point. Do not develop any identity crisis or yearn for recognition. They may not easily come by. As you travel, you will hear a lot of politically correct statements. Smile at them, for they are made for your amusement and not for you to believe. Your job is to focus on the ball you are playing and the ball next and the ball next. My final suggestion to my colleagues of the district judiciary, please try to be humane. You may have a job to do, I understand, but you are doing it only for our citizens. You may have the power of a giant, but you should not act like a giant. Develop a strong sense of fairness and justice. I hope the Judicial Academy may train the officers on the significant aspect of judicial fairness and sense of justice. The toughest job for any judge is in handling the discretionary power, and it can be fairly exercised only if you possess a sense of fairness and justice. And now the curtains must fall. As I leave this sacred institution of justice, I do so in the hope that I have played my part, however infinitesimally small, in ensuring that justice goes the whole hog, to the last mile and to the last citizen. I part with a solemn prayer uttered by another distinguished eminent Chief Justice of this court. The best and the worst of us are laboring under the scrutiny of a higher power, and what will justify us is not a sense of personal achievements, but a feeling that we have aided in however humble a degree, in however small or large measure, in keeping alive the flame of truth and justice in this vast citadel. May the spirit always animate us. Friends, I just want to remind every one of us, this is our moment in the history. Let's reflect what best have we done and what best can we do. For we cannot let our nation, we cannot let our society down. Thank you. Now I'm just going to make a small breach of protocol. I want to give a memento to, it is also a part of the movement I'm going to commence. And I want to first hand over the memento to my Lord, the Honorable Chief Justice. And all others I'm definitely going to share. And except that, it will reach, except the front row, others will reach their chambers. I actually wanted to do it in the morning, but then I got it only after lunch. But the difficulty is that I'm not going to be here any longer. Therefore, this is the last best opportunity for me. And I think I may be on my behalf, I request the registry staff to give my memento to each one of the judges on the front row, also to the AG plus ASG. They represent all the law officers and the bar. And of course, yes, whoever you want, you contact me. I'll give my contact number. You can contact me later. You can get to open it. So, open it. So, look, 1 second. So just all of you can open it. 1 second. Just open, sir. You have to open. I'll open it for the chief. One minute, Pa. I want you to hold it, man. என்ன கருதிங்கிறீங்க நீங்க? You can open, sir. Yes, sir. What it contains is, this is our moment in the history of the nation and human civilization. What best can I do? So which implies that it is we, but we cannot pass it on the others, the responsibility of doing it. We have to do it. One has to do it. And of course, the Chief Justice has given a small, in fact, I had a discussion with him yesterday. He made a small correction in the caption. I thought I will get the corrected one before the ceremony. It has not reached. So thank you, gentlemen. I'm going to miss you all from tomorrow. Thank you very much.
Thank you, my lord. May I conclude the proceedings, my lord? National anthem.
जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे